Coming up on NEC-TV, NEC President Wayne Lesperance joins us in studio to talk about campus safety and how NEC will handle a new bill that could allow guns on college campus.
Plus, the NEC track team is back in action. Hear from coaches and team members as they prepare for their first meet in a decade. And
raising money. We're raising money. That's what it's all about.
Unlucky professors, faculty, and staff getting messy for a good cause. We'll tell you why, for this one day, throwing a pie was the ultimate treat. All that and more coming up on NEC-TV. Good afternoon, and thank you for watching NEC-TV. I'm Lauren Hall.
And I'm Steve Sabitsky. Today's February 19th. Let's get right to our top story.
New Hampshire, that if made into law, would allow people to carry guns on college campuses. If passed, this would impact public and private colleges. Earlier this week, President Wayne Lesperance joined us in the studio to share his thoughts on this and how NEC students can be kept safe. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure.
We're going to talk a little bit about campus safety and just safety on college campuses. Right now, there is a new bill in New Hampshire that would allow people to open carry on campus. Do you mind explaining that to us a little bit and then kind of talking about how NEC would be handling that?
Sure. The campus carry bill, as it's come to be called, is a bill that would say that no college or university that receives state support could prevent students or any community members from bringing firearms onto campus. So currently, NEC's policy is firearms cannot be brought onto campus. And so this would change that. So that represents a very big change for our college and frankly for every college in the state. Our view on that is of concern. Not from a Second Amendment point of view, certainly I support the Second Amendment, but from the perspective of the living and learning environment of New England College is one that I believe would become compromised if we introduce firearms. So imagine, at every ball game, imagine in a classroom setting, imagine in a residence hall room, there's so many settings where the introduction of firearms, I think, would create nervousness and concern. And, with college students in general, there are concerns about students who are suffering from mental health issues, students who are in crisis for whatever reason, and introducing the presence of a firearm just complicates everything, our ability to work with members of our community. I know law enforcement feels very similarly to this, that from a tactical point of view, it changes everything. And so when we need to bring campus safety or campus or local police into a scenario, it makes things much more complicated for them as well. So for lots of reasons, it's not something that I would support. I'm very encouraged that the governor has said over the last weekend that she wants to look at it more closely and see how other states have handled it, who have passed it. There's 12 states that have a law like this. And I think that's the right thing. We should be much better informed about what the implications are. At the end of the day, my biggest concern isn't about the guns at all. It's about our ability to be competitive. So think about trying to have this conversation with your mom, your dad, your family members, your family about where you're going to go to school and whether or not the fact that there's open carry on your campus is going to make you more likely or less likely. I think it puts us at a disadvantage with all the states around us. It becomes harder for every school in New Hampshire to attract students to come and stay here.
Mass shootings are common right now, and college campuses are not immune to that. In 2020, there was an incident off campus involving a gun, but involving NEC students. Can you tell me a little bit about what policies might have changed due to this?
Well, I was the second person on campus at 3 o'clock in the morning when that happened. I was the academic vice president, and with the VP for Student Affairs, we had to try to very quickly make sense of what was happening in our community, make sure our students were safe and in a safe place, and then work with local law enforcement to address the immediate threat. I would say the biggest changes that have happened since then is at that point, we really didn't have a playbook. We really were operating from, training that was frankly out of date. So I think the biggest changes since then are the number of training sessions, the developing a playbook, who's in charge of what, and really coming to terms with any number of possible incidents that could happen on a college campus that involves safety. So I think we're better informed, but I'll tell you that for me, there's no more frightening phone call to get than someone saying, Wayne, there's been a shooting that involves students, we need you on campus. Because every one of you, every one of these students, every one of these members of our community, in some ways are in our care. And I take that very seriously. It's a big part of how I see my role, is to make sure that you all are in a safe living and learning environment. I know college students will do crazy things. I did crazy things as a college kid, but a shooting is a whole different level. And that's not something to take lightly. So we have to be prepared. I think we are much better prepared. We can always be better. And we have to make sure we project the confidence to the students, their families, and our community members that we will do everything we can to prevent those things from happening, but God forbid they do. We will respond in a way that puts the safety of our students and our community members first.
What are some of the challenges that we face when we're trying to implement some of this newer technology with safety in some of our older buildings?
It's expensive. It's incredibly expensive. The residence halls we have, as you know, go back a long way. They're the traditional cinder block buildings, so wiring them, running Wi-Fi through them, wireless signal through them, all of that becomes expensive. Changing the lock system, is incredibly time-consuming and expensive, but it's expense we have to incur, right? Because it's about safety, and I think more and more the expectation is that this is just part of the deal. You have to have those in place. So whether it's being able to swipe in, it'll give us the ability to track movement, which I don't know that students really love, but it becomes important when we're trying to find everybody. Through the swipe system, having locks that are reliable, talking to students about not propping the doors open so people can come in and out, just generally having serious conversations about campus safety with our entire community, because as much as we do, it's got to be a partnership. You all have a role to play in this. And the technology is just a piece of it. The expense of upgrading our locks and all those systems is just a piece of it. There's a much bigger element which really requires a community to say, we all believe that safety is important and we're going to do our part to make sure that's real.
Right. Do you see a time where NEC ends up making that change to have key cards for all buildings?
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming. I mean, we're already working on that. It's happening sort of in a piecemeal manner because we're trying to manage that expense over time.
Of course.
So you just spread that out, and that's how we're approaching it. But absolutely, there'll be a time when the entire campus is basically driven by electronic key cards. It's like going to a hotel. Yeah.
In general, what policies are in place from yourself and from senior staff to just generally protect the students in greater NEC campus?
There are a lot. I mean, probably the one that I think is most important is the sort of the old, if you see something, say something. So we have student support software. It's a product called EAB that anybody who interacts with a student has the ability to input information. So if you are my student and you just seem to be off, you were having a rough week, I can make a note there and say, Laura doesn't seem to be doing so well. Let's check in. Who could reach out to her and check in? Maybe it's an RA, maybe it's a coach, whoever it is that has access to you that you'd feel comfortable hearing from. That's how we try to approach it. And most of the time it's like, I'm just not feeling great, or I had a bad weekend, or I got a bad grade or something. Not that you would ever have that happen. And then we figure it out. That kind of early intervention is huge, and it's important because what it does is it lets the students know, hey, we care and we want to make sure you're okay. And second, if there is something happening, it allows us to then deploy resources to support you, whatever that is. Sometimes it's as simple as just having a conversation. Sometimes it's more serious and we need to have more of an intervention. That kind of early warning system is important. We have fantastic people. New England College's greatest strength are its people, whether it's in student affairs or housing or our faculty who are absolutely amazing. They very much are interested in our students having good, positive outcomes. So when you put all those tools together and a genuine interest in student success, you really can catch a lot of these issues early. If they're serious, we want to make sure we get help for them, and we've gotten pretty good at that too.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Anytime, my pleasure.
On Wednesday, the annual Chiefs Breakfast was held at the NEC Great Room. NEC-TV's Montana Taylor was there and has that story.
Every year, the Concord Regional Crime Line visits NEC to host the annual Chiefs Breakfast. Concord Crime Line has been around for more than 2 decades. The Crime Line is an anonymous tip line and helps police catch criminals. Greg Taylor is the treasurer.
Concord Regional Crime Line it started as Concord Crime Line back in 1994. It was a way for the public to submit tips anonymously to help solve crimes in communities and keep communities safe. In 2001, it became Concord Regional Crime Line and now has approximately 20 member communities all with the same mission to help solve crimes and help police departments in our communities.
Law enforcement officials from across the region gathered at the Simon Great Room on Wednesday. The group included several members of the Criminal Justice Club who watch presentations as it gives them a chance to strengthen their relationships at the law enforcement, local and statewide level. Christopher Parsons, a 2008 NEC graduate, is now the chief of police with the town of Hillsborough.
We're one of the members of the regional crime line, so the crime line gives back to all the towns that are a part of it by either there's grant funding or just tipster. They provide like money when a tip comes in.
This is the 6th year this event has been held at NEC. Everyone agrees that the Crime Line program is useful and a popular program.
Regional Crime Line, if somebody is to give a tip, it's completely anonymous. They can just call the number, and they're given a number. So there's no names, nobody ever knows who you are. So it's a wonderful program.
For NEC-TV, I'm Montana Taylor.
For the first time in a decade, track is back at NEC. This weekend, the team travels to Boston for their first pre-varsity meet. NEC-TV's Jack Lombardo talked to coaches and athletes about their hopes for the season.
For the first time in a decade, NEC's track and field team is getting ready to compete. The team is traveling to Boston to make their anticipated return. Head coach Zach Emerson says he's ready to see what the team can do.
Really happy with the type of work ethic that we've been able to establish. We've got a lot of really good athletes that I think are here for the right reasons and working really hard, even on a snowy, Tuesday morning, on an icy field.
After a long hiatus with the track and field program at NEC, practice conditions are unusual compared to most other universities or even high schools for that matter. NEC does not have an indoor-outdoor track facility, and the athletes on the roster are still getting used to the difficult Henniker elements.
The most challenging parts have been that we don't really have a facility like other schools do. We work out on this indoor facility we have here, but we don't have an indoor track or an outdoor track to work on. So I'd say that's been a challenge.
NEC's athletic director Dave DeCue says he pushed to bring back the sport, and he hopes it will help grow the college and the campus.
Coach Emerson here was there. We knew we had a winner there and a coach, and felt like this was going to be something that can continue to grow the right way.
The team will be competing in just 3 pre-varsity meets this season. Kaylee Villagomez is a runner and a team leader. She says it will help prepare them for next year's varsity schedule.
We expect to have people sprinting, jumping, throwing, and running distance. Right now, we're just expecting everybody to come out to practice and have a good time, but also put in the work to compete and get their spot.
After this weekend's meet in Boston, the team will compete in Hooksett for the SNHU Spring Opener and the Ed Daniels Classic. For NEC-TV, I'm Jack Lombardo.
Let's check in on this week's sports recap. Tomorrow, women's ice hockey takes on UMass Boston at home at 4 p.m. Men's ice hockey takes on number 11 Babson College at 7 p.m.
On Saturday, women's ice hockey hosts the Megan Moore and Sydney Capolino Memorial Game against UMass Boston, home at 1 p.m. Also at 1 p.m., women's basketball takes on Lesley University at home in the Bridges Gym for their senior day.
Following the women's games, men's basketball faces Wentworth Institute of Technology for their senior day at 3 p.m. At 4 p.m., men's ice hockey takes on the University of Southern Maine at home.
And this week's Pilgrim of the Week are senior Callie Camarina Tahina for women's wrestling and first-year Tommaso Sala for alpine skiing. All residence halls will be closing on Friday, February 27th at 7 p.m. for spring break. If you plan on traveling back home for the break, ResLife says start planning accordingly. If you would like to request to remain in your resident hall during the break, you must fill out the form that was sent to your email from ResLife. The halls will reopen on Sunday, March 8th at 8 a.m.
Whipped cream was flying at this year's Pie of Faculty member event. Students paid a few dollars for a pie and the chance to target their coach, NEC Athletic Director Dave DeCue, and professors like Frank Jones and Communications Professor Andy Hirschberger, who took several pies to the face.
That was the biggest surprise of the whole thing. It's like I was expecting like shaving cream or something, but it's actual ready whip. So yeah, it tasted terrific. And I'm so happy for the support from my journalism kids because they're raising money. We're raising money. That's what it's all about.
The organizers say the senior class council made roughly $530 between the Pie of Faculty event and selling carnations for candygrams for Valentine's Day. Coming up after the break, a major check-in on major national news headlines, including the latest on the Winter Olympics.
And a special message from a few celebrities encouraging the NEC community to eat cheese. We'll explain just ahead.
According to the Associated Press, the search continues 2 weeks into the missing persons case of Nancy Guthrie.
Investigators are working with Walmart after identifying the suspect's Ozark Trail backpack is exclusively sold at Walmart stores. The backpack is the only identified item worn by the person seen in this security camera footage. Authorities say Guthrie's blood was found on the porch of her home. Guthrie was last seen on January 31st at her Arizona home. Civil rights leader Jesse Jackson has died at age 84. Jackson was a two-time presidential candidate and the prodigy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Jackson also led the civil rights movement for decades, pushing for voting rights, job opportunities, education, and health care. His daughter says he passed away peacefully and surrounded by family. 3 people died and 3 more are injured following a shooting at the Rhode Island skating rink. According to the Associated Press, the shooting happened during a youth hockey game. The shooter, Robert Dorgan, also known as Roberto Esposito, was pronounced dead by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Officials say the event was targeted and was likely related to a family dispute.
The Olympics are beginning to wind down in Italy. Let's take a look at where the U.S. stands in the medal race and other stories to come out of the 2026 Winter Olympics. As of noon Thursday, the U.S. has won 25 medals, 7 gold, 12 silver, and 6 bronze. Norway is currently leading the way with 34 medals. Italy is in second with 26. The U.S. is trailing just behind with 25, while Japan is in fourth with 22. Germany is in fifth with 21, and France in sixth with 19. Michaela Schifrin, after winning gold Wednesday, matched the U.S. record for the most Olympic medals in alpine skiing, won by a U.S. woman. Schifrin became the first alpine skier to win golds 12 years apart. The Canadian men's curling team made waves this week after an intense exchange with Team Sweden. Canada's Mark Kennedy cursed out Sweden's Oscar Eriksson after Eriksson accused him of a rule violation, saying that Kennedy double-touched the stone after the hog line. However, the video showed Kennedy touching the granite portion of the stone, something you cannot do at any point during the game. After the game, Canada was issued a verbal warning for their language. The age-old rivalry is back. The U.S. women's ice hockey team is currently playing Canada in the gold medal match. As of right now, Canada is beating the U.S. 1-0. The Olympics will wrap up on Sunday with the final event being the men's ice hockey gold medal game. Still to come on NEC-TV, save your appetite. Big Block of Cheese Day is just around the corner. We'll have the details after the break.
Plus, we're keeping an eye on another winter storm. How much snow will we get in Henniker? We'll take a look at the forecast.
Welcome back. NEC's 4th annual Big Block of Cheese Day is tomorrow.
A time of collaboration. This is a time of understanding. This is a time of openness. And this is a time of fellowship. What time is this? Well, I hope you like dairy, because this is Big Block of Cheese Day.
In a video message that includes appearances by 2 actors from the show West Wing, President Wayne Lesperance is inviting the campus community to the administration building to share ideas and concerns with senior staff. The event is inspired by President Andrew Jackson's idea to welcome citizens to the White House. President Lesperance says it's one of his favorite events on campus.
We open our doors, and anybody from our community, student, faculty, staff, whoever, has a question, has a concern, they just want to talk to us about something, we get to come in, they get to have a meeting with us, and we get to talk through whatever's on their mind. So for me, the idea is to open up communications, to facilitate transparency, to give people access, that they sometimes don't always have.
Bear with me. The writers made me say this. The event is sure to be a good one. It runs tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Lauren, at the end of last week, we had a really unique field trip.
On Friday, students in Professor Hirschberger's investigative reporting class got to tour the Merrimack Superior Court in Concord.
We had the opportunity to talk to the clerk of courts and ask any questions about how to track down documents. We also got to talk to the judge and got him to bang the mallet.
We also got to tour the holding cells and the courtrooms. Sub, it looks like winter isn't ready to quit.
We're tracking a storm that is expected to bring 4 to 8 inches of snow headed into the weekend.
According to weather.com, temperatures will drop down to 22 degrees tonight. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 38, and tomorrow night, brace yourself for several inches of snow.
The snow will last through the night, Friday, and into Saturday morning. Sunday and next week will bring seasonal temperatures, chilly evenings below freezing and above freezing during the day.
The snowball made its return last Friday night in the Great Room. More than 200 people showed up to the event, dressed their best. On Friday, RAs spent the day decorating the Great Room. The event was sponsored by ResLife, OSE, SAC, WNEC, and NEC's Photo Club.
There are just 72 days until the class of 2026 will walk across the stage at this year's commencement ceremony. Graduates must order caps and gowns via the emailed link. Orders must be placed by March 13th. An announcement sent to seniors is warning that another local college is holding commencement on the same weekend, and hotel accommodations should be made as soon as possible.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at NEC.TV for the latest NEC news.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you right back here next week for all things NEC from the only Henniker on Earth.